investigation is being run by the state police, and I haven't gotten any feedback from them as to a motive for this.
He didn't own a gun, right?
He didn't own any weapons.
I mean, do you have any idea why he would allegedly shoot a trooper?
Remembering a fallen trooper. This is 24-Hour News 8.
Right now at 6 o'clock, there are still questions about why a young man and his pregnant wife would have allegedly turned a gun on a state trooper during what appeared to be a normal traffic stop.
Our team is working this story for you tonight. You will hear from the father of one of the suspects. He's a retired cop, and he's still trying to figure out why his son might have done this. We also tracked down the owner of a vehicle allegedly stolen last night by the suspects. He saw the two just moments after the shooting. And we're hearing from a friend of Trooper Paul Butterfield who was with him last night during his final moments.
This all started nearly 24 hours ago when Trooper Paul Butterfield pulled over a pickup truck northeast of Ludington. During the stop, he was shot in the head. Police rushed to the scene trying to track down the suspects. 2 hours later, the suspects, a husband and wife, were arrested at a gas station 20 miles away.
Our team coverage begins tonight with 24-Hour News 8's Ken Kolker, who is just learning some new information about the alleged gunman. Ken?
Yeah, Brian and Sue, the suspect's father does not want to believe that his son could have done this, but he wants the trooper's family to know that he is hurting for them.
Well, our family and our whole family, our hearts and our prayers go out to the trooper, his family, and all the other troopers. I'm at a loss for words.
Eric Nice's father says he can't understand what happened, that he wants a chance to talk to his son, who's only 19.
As a father, there's all kind of questions, and I think in the next couple of days, most of them will be answered. But yes, it's possible something unforeseen could have happened. Eric was at the scene, yes, but whether he pulled the trigger or not, I can't say.
But his son was at Munson Medical Center in Traverse City with a bullet wound to the knee from a shootout with police.
I haven't talked to my son, you know, and I understand they won't let me, but I'd like him to answer a few of my questions, that's all.
He says his son borrowed his pickup truck yesterday and was headed to Ludington with his wife for a doctor's appointment. That, he says, is when the trooper stopped him. He wonders if it was because the truck had a loud muffler. He says he has no idea why his son would have shot at the trooper. Says he didn't even know that his son had a gun. The suspect's father says he's a former police officer in Calumet City and that his son had run-ins with the law. Your son would have respect for police, right? I mean, as someone who grew up...
You'd think so, yes. But this is not a surprise. This is a shock.
Nyes was only 14 when he was charged with home invasion. Then it was impaired driving last fall. Earlier this year, he was busted for carrying a switchblade that, according to state police, got him a year in jail. Then he got 93 days for a domestic violence. Nyes and his wife Sarah married about 1.5 years ago, and his father says that she was 6 months pregnant.
This is the worst day of my life.
Yeah. Now, today we also learned that the suspect's uncle took out a personal protection order against him, saying that he had assaulted him and had access to weapons. Also, we just spoke with the father again by phone, who confirmed that a .357 Magnum had been taken from his home sometime over the last year. Says he did not know it was missing until after this incident. He says police will not tell him if it was the gun that was used in this crime. Live in Ludington, Ken Kolker, 24-Hour News 8.
It all ended at this Manistee County gas station where Eric Nyes was shot and his wife was arrested. But tonight we're piecing together what happened in the moments before and after Trooper Butterfield was gunned down on a rural road miles away. 24-Hour News 8's Leon Hendricks is live in Ludington tonight, laying out the timeline and talking with the man who saw the suspect's moments after the shooting. Leon?
That's right. He has a lot to say. We'll get to him in just a moment. We want to tell you why we're here at the Mason County Courthouse. That's because this is the next step in the process for these suspects. They will be brought here to face those charges, though the prosecutor still working to decide what those charges will be. Still waiting for some official reports from the police. Still lots of questions, though, as to what really happened and why. For this man, it was a bizarre turn of events, from selling his car to ending up as part of a state police trooper's murder investigation. Timothy Schultz is one of the only known people to have had contact with the suspects after police claim one of them shot Trooper Paul Butterfield to death.
I'm thankful for, that there wasn't no conflict or anything here.
Here's how yesterday's tragic events played out as we understand them. At around 6:20, Trooper Butterfield stopped the suspect's 1988 pickup here. It's not clear why, but ultimately police say someone in that truck shot and fatally wounded the trooper. He laid along the highway for some 4 minutes until a driver saw him there. The Mason County Sheriff among those first on the scene.
I knew it was bad because the sergeant and I had made eye contact, and I knew by looking at the seasoned veteran that this wasn't good.
That's when the suspects traveled here to steal their next getaway car, a car that was for sale. Schultz tells us that suspects Eric Nice and his wife Sarah had been there earlier in the day to test drive that car. They planned to buy it. When they showed up the second time after the shooting, Schultz says they asked to look at the car again. Still nothing out of sorts.
He seemed all right. He didn't seem like he wasn't in a panic.
Then he says they unexpectedly drove off. Schultz says he thought it was weird but did not find it suspicious. Now he's thankful he didn't confront the pair. He later called police after learning that the trooper was shot, putting authorities hot on the trail of their suspects, finally arresting them here at a gas station miles away and in another county. Suspect Eric Nice was shot in the process. A few hours later, Trooper Butterfield was declared dead, and now it's the process of grieving and healing. Flowers placed on the trooper's cars at the Hart Post where Butterfield worked out of. Some more public shows of support, others a small flower arrangement here, more private, assuring those who remain to protect us all.
Goodness will prevail out of this.
So as far as what the next step will look like, there is some confusion, a couple of caveats because of the situation surrounding this case. One, the suspect, the male suspect, we know that he is still in the hospital, so not sure if he'll be able to actually make a court appearance here, though we have heard of arraignments actually happening at the hospital bed. The other, the investigation is still being compiled. The prosecutor's got to look through a lot of paperwork before deciding what charges he'll officially file. Reporting live in Mason County, Leon Hendricks, 24-Hour News 8.
We're also learning that several officers wound up on the road alongside Trooper Butterfield just moments after a driver found him down.
Those officers were there as the trooper fought for his life for more than an hour as emergency crews tried to keep him alive.
24-Hour News 8's Marley Ginter joins us now with how one of them sat by his side praying.
Yes, he did. Brian and Sue, Mason County Sheriff Kim Cole was with Trooper Butterfield moments after he'd been shot. In fact, he was there right when the ambulance was getting there, saw his friend, and started hanging on to hope.
I prayed for the best, but I knew that it was a serious injury.
Mason County Sheriff Kim Cole spoke with a steady voice and a broken heart. He sat last night not just with a colleague, but a close friend as paramedics tried to save Trooper Butterfield's life.
I stayed there with him as long as I could, and then when Aeromed touched down, I stepped aside and let them get going with him.
Butterfield joined MSP in 1999. He'd served at the Manistee Post, but had been working out of the Hart Post for the past 2 years.
You know, Paul took every call that I went with him on as a personal call. It wasn't like it was his job.
But there was much more than the uniform. The 43-year-old had recently gotten engaged. Friends tell us he loved his pets, had a great sense of humor, known to them as Butterbean. He still kept in touch with his high school track coach at Bridgeport, a school near Saginaw where we're told he still holds multiple records.
You don't get Paul Butterfields very often as runners for your team. He just loved to run, and he was really good at it.
He was there when my kids graduated and was at my house for the open houses when my kids graduated, and you know, it's tough.
A hard day for so many. Trooper Butterfield had a family history dedicated to protecting the community. His father also served as a state trooper. Brian.
Thank you, Marley. Funeral plans are still being arranged for Trooper Butterfield. However, we are learning of a candlelight vigil happening Saturday night. That'll be held at Waterfront Park in Ludington starting at 7.
Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll take a closer look at just how dangerous traffic stops are for police officers every time they pull a car over.